In-state tuition at the college I attend costs over $11,000 a year, and if you're coming from out of state, that goes up to $30,000. Sure, compared to a lot of other schools, that's not bad, but you're telling me that I'm paying tens of thousands of dollars just for me to do all of the work in the same 3 buildings? Well, not anymore. I'm going to get what I'm paying for and study in every single building on campus. Here are the rules. 1. I will study in every building that classes take place in. These are the buildings that commuter students like me have access to during the day, and they're guaranteed to have at least one study spot because there should be at least one empty classroom at some point during the day. 2. Spend 25 minutes in each building. The Pomodoro timer method is when you study for 25 minutes straight locked in and then you take a 5-minute break in between. The way I see it, studying for 25 minutes in each building will be peak studying because I will be following the Pomodoro timer method and also getting a walk break in. 3. Get a time lapse to prove I did it. By the end of this, I should have 31 time lapses of me studying in different places. 4. I have to do every building before finals are over, because what's the point of studying if there's nothing to study for? Well, without further ado, let's get started. First up was the engineering complex because I have access to it on the weekends. This is where I always am during the school day for classes and labs, but I just wanted to make sure I had some time lapses in here and I wanted to look around and see if I could find any actual decent study spots. I knew that there were some that are okay, but I wasn't really expecting anything spectacular. It's the engineering complex. Nebraska Hall. Nebraska Hall is a maze that is ugly on the inside and out.
It's so ugly.
At least you can get some snacks here, but this being the best study spot in the building that I know of is criminal.
It just feels weird and dystopian in here. Let's go upstairs and over one building.
Scott Engineering Center. This one really surprised me. It is way less ugly than Nebraska Hall, and it also has a coffee shop apparently.
A coffee shop? I literally walk over this every day to get to class.
I don't really like the modern colorless vibe, but I appreciated the fun little bits of decor they had, and while I wish it made some attempt at being cozy, the coffee shop was good too. Othmer Hall. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. I like the vibe in here the best of the engineering complex because it actually has some amount of color to it. Walking in here from Scott is like when the Wizard of Oz changes to Technicolor when Dorothy enters Oz. And there's some good tables and whatnot, but it's not the coolest place in the world. What is cool is this little trip to Kiewit Hall. There are a lot of resources in Kiewit. Classrooms with TVs and whiteboards, a wood shop, a metal shop, 3D printers, soldering tools, and your basic electrical engineering equipment like oscilloscopes and multimeters. But I really hate the architecture. It's just a giant glass box and 90% of the inside is empty. But I should be more grateful for this new building in my department, so it's ugly, but it's useful, and I am very excited to branch out and get out of the engineering complex now. Next is the most obvious building for studying, which is the library itself. There are many places to study in here. The stacks, the mezzanine room, the lobbies of the first and second floor, the overpass, the room with the statue of Willa Cather, this room. I decided to do my actual studying in my usual study spot, the mezzanine room. I just like it in there, and obviously it's a great study spot. It's the library. This is pretty much the same building, but it has its own name and operating hours, so I'm calling it different. And this is probably one of the most popular study spots on campus. Even on a Saturday, it was pretty full, and I had to sit in the corner so I didn't catch anyone in my time lapse. And obviously, it's library adjacent, so another great spot to lock in. Selleck Quadrangle. This is technically a dining hall and also a dorm, but I do get food here sometimes, and honestly it was one of my biggest study spots last year and the year before. And in the basement they have this lounge that's usually pretty empty, so I studied down there and admittedly fell asleep a little bit. But hey, this is a good spot if you want to study over a meal. The Union. The Union is the perfect place to study if you prefer a slightly louder environment. I did my studying in the part of the Union called the Crib, which has this sick stained glass thing. There's also a piano in there if you ever feel like being a disruptive nuisance to everybody else in there, but I didn't quite feel like that day. Avery Hall. Here's where the real fun begins because now we're getting to places that I've never really studied in before. Avery is the math and computer science building, so I've had some classes in here before and I knew exactly where to find the lounge, which had some conveniently placed chalkboards. Overall, a solid study spot, especially if you're in between classes and just need a table to sit at for an hour or so. Oldfather Hall. Another eyesore, Oldfather is one of the tallest buildings on campus. It also has a coffee shop at the bottom called the Academic Grind, but I opted for an empty classroom instead. I've had all of my Spanish classes in this building, so as far as classes go, I think language is the focus in here. It's a fine study spot, it just gets a little eerie at night. Anyway, I took the skybridge over to Burnett Hall, which I think is the psychology building. It also has the language lab, which has free tutors for language classes. I would have done the language lab for my study spot, but it's kind of an awkward space to be in with just two people on opposite sides, and there was already one person in there in the corner. So it was another backup empty classroom for me this time. And then I really had to mentally prepare myself for the walk to the next building because the sun had set, and you do not want to be caught walking through Oldfather after dark. Luckily, I survived the trek and I found myself in one of the coolest buildings so far. Bessey is clearly the geology building, but it's also where I have my linear algebra class. Finding nothing else, I decided to just use my linear algebra classroom, which is this huge lecture hall where you can control the lights and the projector. This was definitely the most fun way to study for digital logic design, and also a great way to end the day of studying. Oh, and I also hit 5,000 subscribers while I was in there, so thank you guys so much. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so we can hit 10K before the end of my junior year. But anyway, now it was time to lock in. Louise Hall. I only had a few days left at this point, so I really had to be on top of things every day. The big bad evil class of Signals and Systems was having its final on Wednesday, and it was now Monday, and there was also the linear algebra final on Thursday. So I started a practice final for Signals and Systems in this cool lobby area of LPH. That's what the cool kids call it. This is the Global Studies building, but I also randomly had a recitation for Calculus 2 in here one time. It's usually packed to the brim, but there are a lot of good study spots in here if you can claim them in time. Otherwise, you get stuck in the lobby, which also isn't bad. Westbrook Music Building. Another brand new building like Kiewit, which was a disappointment to people that actually have to use it. It's the brand new music building, but it has less practice rooms than the old one, and also those new practice rooms are not even soundproof, which does make studying in this building a little rough. But it wasn't so bad, and it was kind of cool because I was in this little study alcove that kind of overlooked the first floor. But next up was the building I was most excited for. Architecture Hall. As the name suggests, this building has the coolest architecture, hands down, and the study spot that I found was nothing short of magical. You're telling me that I'm studying in an atrium next to a statue with the facade of the old College of Law right behind me? That's epic. Now, it's not somewhere that I'd usually study just because there are only like 2 tables here and it's kind of awkward if you like walk up and they're taken and you just have to leave. But it was a cool experience nonetheless. Brace Laboratory. I had my calculus lecture in this building freshman year and I'm not sure exactly what the labs are for, but there are labs in there. I used one of my old recitation classrooms and just did some good work on the whiteboards. It's nothing special, but it gets the job done. Hamilton Hall. Hamilton is the chemistry building, which I quickly found out when I explored 8 floors just to find that all of them were labs. There was a really awesome view from the top though. But then I ended up having to go all the way back down the stairs to this little kind of sunroom thing with a vending machine and a door that let in all the cold air. Great for doing labs, terrible for studying. Manter Hall. This was the first building so far that I hadn't ever been in, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's a huge building, but I think I just lucked out and walked into the perfect door because I found this room with a whiteboard table and that was perfect for my practice test. I think this is some sort of biology or life sciences building, and they are living in luxury over there in that department with a study spot like this. Richards Hall. Richards also has a very nice exterior, and I accidentally recorded this epic slow motion shot of me opening the front door. But before finding any study spots, I stumbled across this art gallery that they had in the middle of the building, so I took a quick break to appreciate that. I did some more exploring, but with it being an art building, there were a lot more studios than study rooms, so I ended up using the student lounge, which was honestly pretty decked out. Jorgensen Hall, whatever you want to call it. This is where I started my Tuesday studying, even though I do have beef with this building, with it being the physics building and all. There are fine places to study in this building, I just can't be in there. Hawks Hall, the College of Business, the Cobb. Another building that I, perhaps irrationally, do not enjoy. It just freaks me out a little bit. Like, I walked in there and it was the most full of any building that I had seen so far, and it felt like walking into a high school cafeteria, but all your friends are gone for the day, so it's just everybody else and you have no place to sit and everyone is judging you. And just like, what are they working on? Why are they all still here? Half of their study spots are set up like Shark Tank. What do they have to study for besides trying to appease Mr. Wonderful? Henzlik Hall. I don't really know what this building is for, but it has this giant, tech support room that I studied in. Terrible lighting though. But it is connected to Teachers College Hall, which had a nice little empty classroom for me to use. And the lobby area was nice too, but there were just a bunch of chairs and no tables. Carolyn Pope Edwards Hall. Now this is a pretty good one. The walls are whiteboards and there are TVs in the study room, so it's a pretty elite setup. I didn't actually use any of that stuff this time, but it was nice to know that it was there. Andrews Hall. Andrews seems to be the main English building on campus with its free books and its little library room that I did my studying in. It was kind of built like a museum, but I really liked the creative interior. A whole lot better than other buildings I've seen. Beadle Center. Oh, I love this one. This was my last full day of studying, and I came here right after my signals and systems test that went surprisingly well. I loved all of the greenery on top of it just being a really cool building. Just look at this place. And it had this perfect study spot, complete with chargers. It felt like walking into the herbology wing at Hogwarts, and I loved that. University of Nebraska Medical Center. It was really weird to study in here because this is where I have my doctor's appointments, and it was fine, just a little awkward because I felt like I was encroaching on the med student space. The Temple Building. I was so excited to explore this building more since it's called the Temple Building, but it turned out that there was really nothing in there for me. I checked every floor and every little corner, but I could not find a good study spot because, as it turns out, most of the building is just a big theater. There was a little section with tables and chairs in the lobby, but then there was also a front desk with a person working staring directly at those tables and chairs. So instead, I opted for this random bench in the corner and did what I could. This is really just a theater building, and I guess you don't really need table space to study for theater. Woods Art Building. This one was rough too. Again, I looked and looked, but there ended up being only one table in the whole building that wasn't a studio table. So that's exactly where I sat, this tiny little table in this tiny little hallway. Knoll, aka the University Honor Center. I almost didn't go to Knoll because it's an active residence hall and one that I lived in 2 years ago, but I have had a couple classes in there, so I decided I would go for it. I sat in the lobby next to the piano and resisted the urge to play it. It's one of the smelliest residence halls, and there's a lot of memory and heart packed into that smelliness. Andersen Hall. Right before my last final, I went to the College of Journalism as my final building. It's a little bit off campus, but I'll let it count. There was a whole radio station in there, which was cool, but I set up camp by this old camera with maybe the least flattering time-lapse angle yet. But now that we've seen all 31 buildings, it is time for some awards to see which are the best of the best. Welcome to the Nebroscars, the Nebraska Oscars. This is an award show for buildings, and I'd like to thank my live audience for being here with me. Give yourselves a round of applause. So our first category is Coolest Building Exterior. The nominees are Architecture Hall, Love Library, or Richards Hall. The winner is Architecture Hall. Woo! Yes. Coolest Building Interior. Architecture Hall again. Bessey Hall or Beadle Center. Wow. The winner is Architecture Hall once again. Woo! Okay. Best for studying. Best for studying. Your nominees are Love Library or Manter Hall. Manter Hall. Tough decision. It goes to Love Library. Can't be beat.
What?
Yep. Best for hanging out. You got the Union or Selleck? Unfortunately, this one goes to the Union. Woo! Best amenities. Your nominees are Love Library, Manter Hall, Carolyn Pope Edwards Hall, or Kiewit Hall. The Nebraska goes to Kiewit Hall. Oh.
Is there any sort of bias in the judging?
I hate Kiewit Hall with a passion, but I have to admit, it is the best with the resources that it has. If it were up to me, it'd be Love Library, but it's not. Most interesting. Your nominees are Andersen Hall. They've got a radio show in there. Bessey Hall, basically a geology museum. Or Richards Hall, an art gallery. For me, this one's going to Bessey Hall. Best for movie night. We've got Bessey Hall or Kiewit Hall. Both of these have places where you can put a movie up on a screen. The Nebraska goes to Bessey Hall. Audiences, I tell you, they get worse every year. The best view, Adele Coryell Hall, Learning Commons, or Hamilton Hall. The Nebraska goes to Hamilton Hall. Oh, I just pulled a La La Land. Shoot. Hamilton Hall, everybody. Then just one more honorable mention. The one building I did not go into that I probably should have gone into, but I didn't really have time for. Morrill Hall. We love Morrill Hall. It's a museum. It does have a classroom, but it's kind of detached. But anyway, yay, Morrill Hall. We love Morrill Hall. Thank you for coming out tonight. I hope you had a lovely Nebroscars. I know I did. So what did I get out of studying in every single building on campus? Not much. Well, actually, I did pretty well on my finals, and I also had a lot of fun exploring parts of campus that I hadn't seen before. Do I recommend it for your own campus? Yes. Just don't stress yourself out about it. Just explore until you find a place that you really like and then make that your study spot or your spot for hanging out. I think for me, the library will continue to be the spot that I lock in the most in the future, but if I need to switch it up, I might go and study in the Beadle Center or Manter Hall or Carolyn Pope Edwards Hall, Architecture Hall if I'm feeling crazy. But yeah, it's good to do something out of the ordinary every once in a while and explore even the places that you feel like you know. I still can't believe that there's an entire coffee shop in the Scott Engineering Center. But hey, if you enjoyed this journey, you will love my 24-hour reading challenge where I go all around campus trying to rack up 24 hours of reading. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and while I was editing this, we also hit 6,000 subscribers, so that's awesome. But like and comment and subscribe and all the good things. Okay, bye!